Hi guys. So today we're gonna continue with the last as we start using like the plugins like cores or serialization. We'll start with the implementation now, and we'll start with the JWT module first. So we'll make sure that the authentication will be simple and fast also. Let us check like everything is working like from yesterday. So we'll start with the JWT things. Before that one, we'll just check once everything is working now. So yeah, you can see, and if we can go with the Swagger UI, it should fetch also. Yeah, it's working fine. So we need to check it out like whether the response is coming up. Yeah, it's good to go. We'll need to figure it out like how to do without JWT authentication. So before going with that one, we'll just create an class here, class named as let's say it should be authentication, like. And before that one, we'll just go with the cater documentation itself, like how to integrate the authentication here, right? Let us check, go with the docs first, and then get a server, and then developing, and there should be an authentication thing here. Looking just response serving temp, yeah, it's authentication, and we will gonna use the bearer authentication, the ZWT form of it. So we'll make sure that it's working also. So before that one, we need to copy. So just move it out from the window here, right? And we'll need to have that dependencies that we pasted, right? Not here, but yeah. So what it will do, like we're gonna need what is the current version 342. We're gonna use 342 here, and it will convert it to like the TML format that's being used now. So you can see that library catalog that is being called TOML format for the dependency managing, and we need to stop and then sync. So it will go with this one. So we need to install that bearer authentication thing. So before that one, let us uh, make sure that we are extending application, and we'll say that JWT authentication for this, right? And then from the documentation, what I remember it will be a curly brace, yeah, and we can say that it will do one thing here, but it will look, yeah, the same. Install authentication, right? Yeah, it's from Katie, and let's just wait for the Gradle to be fully synced. We can do all those things. Just wait, and we need to import, and make sure that it will be server.application, and it should be server.install also. Yeah, and you can see that, yeah, and it's saying that it's expect, yeah, because it's a function itself, right? You don't need a return type here, I think. No issues. And we go with the code, and the and this authentication is good to go. For that one, we need to have a bearer here, right? But just take that it will support here. See here. You don't need basic authentication. So I'm just checking out this documentation from Cater. Yeah, right. Sorry. So there are different type of authentication here. As you can see that basic authentication will be with the login ID and password, and you have to validate it every time, right? Like the same for the JWT, but we'll eventually create some keys and also encrypt that, and we have some payloads in that JWT, so we can identify later on which user it's coming from, right? All those things will do it. So just check what validate with the user hash table, validate user stored in memory that keeps it as do not compare. That's good also. Like it gives you user hash table auth, which is a valid user stored in memory table. Okay, that's good also. Like it will not like if everything is leaked, that's not a problem then. That's good. Let's go with the digest one. It allows part of HTTP promise to access control and authentication. In this game, a hash function is applied to a user and person before sending them over network. Okay, do we need that one? We don't need. I don't think so. API key authentication. Secret key as the part of the request. Typical as header. No, no, not typical. Yeah, you can see that there is JSON web token also. You need to have to enter all those things again. We need some other plugins that need to be for supporting all those JWT things. Right, we'll make sure that there is everything in place. We'll make sure that here 432, right, and we'll make sure here also the version number is correctly matching as a whatever the correct version you have. So we'll just move this one and just mention for sorry like this one, the other. Okay, right. So we'll make sure that the version number is correct. Version number is correct here also. We don't need like that auth thing because we already have maintained that one. Just we need authorizability, and it should be synced now. Okay, based on that, so like the JDL authentication will work like this way that you have in post you have to send part of the username password of the real user, and it will generate a key which will be a token, and you need to have to send that same key for every request you want to authenticate with. And if it is failed, it will respond with 401, right? Like it will, if the verification is failed that it's not a real user, someone like try to introduce into your server, so that way you can protect. So so there is password, that secret key, public private key. Okay, that's also good. Good, good, good. Okay, so as we have already installed, right, everything is now being set it up. But for JWT, you need to have to define all those secret, issue, audience, all those things in place. So for HS256 algorithm with a specified shared secret, like whatever you specified, it will gonna work. Or RS256 with a public private key pair that we need, right? So we'll just check RS256 like how it will work, gonna work. So we need a certificate. Yeah, keys, key, E, key, and yeah, we don't need now. We'll go with the simple one first. Make it faster. Like I don't want that tutorial to be 2 hours. Right? So it will saying that data server JWTPOM that it's failed. So we need to check that libtoml file. Right. So yeah, you can see this is causing this problem. And make sure we are in good place to go on or JWT or JWTPM. Let's So we are basically started the server now. Like so, we'll set up the server first, and then we'll go with the compose Jetpack compose, which is currently now Kotlin Multiplatform compose also. AMP. It's saying that could not find allocator server auth J22432 J4 isn't not there. Server auth J22. Is that there is two types of plugin JWT and JWT JVM JWT. There is server auth and server auth JWT. Server auth JWT. Nothing else. Don't need, I think, too much. Just make sure that server.auth we need and server.auth JWT. I think this much should come out. Need to remove, I think. So auth we need, and yeah, we need to remove this one. We don't need, and others can be there are no issues. Check once again. Like every Kotlin version have all those plugins also updated with. You need to make sure that those plugin have the actual things. You can see that it's misplaced, right? 432 is the latest version, not 342. You need to make sure that 342 here also mentioned. So we'll make sure now time being. I'll remove all those which is not needed, right? So we need to make sure that it will be in same version, right? That cater, right? We'll just remove all those that refer to the same reference, right? All those things we can just remove. We can just make sure that cater is there. It can be cater, it can be cater here, it can be cater here, cater. So it will be reference to the same version rather than having like multiple versions and multiple variable declared the same type of version, right? And here you can just change like at any cost. We'll just sync it now again. Any other things we need to like expose now? A coin bomb is that coin bomb then 420, like it's available. We'll check like what have been changed with the 4.2 4.2.0. Let's go with 4.1. Yeah, you can see that I think the sync is complete now, and we are good to go with JWT and other things whatever we need. So before that one, like I think we need to declare some all those that it's things, right? So give me one second. That maybe we need to have that in some application.conf file. Yeah, yeah. So in configuration file we need to have that one. Right? So we go with the server first, right? And make sure in Kotlin you have all those things in place. No issues. Go with this one. So we'll make sure that there is no errors first. Close other tabs and that application.conf files. Right? We need to check where we need to place it on. Right? So it's saying that for example the application call might be look this one, but yeah, it should be here I think. And what will name application dot it will be a configuration file I think. CUNF. So what you need for time being, we'll go with this one. The like whatever the example it's saying here, right? One files are supported by Intel. We don't need like what things like I don't want to operate to ultimate here. For time being, we got all those things in place now. So to get all those values in the environment, like in the environment itself, right? I need to go with the this one authentication before like any authentication things like we'll get that env.config that you get all those things, and for property to be accessed you can just have that key value like a map, you can just access it. Yep. You can see JWT is the base key here, the parent and dot like a class and object, sorry, object and a property here, just we can access that, right? And we got all those things in place. So like how to do that authentication now, we need to figure it out, like how to generate a token here. You can see that it's easy here to go with, right? But we'll make sure that all those authentication things in a in one repository or in a service that will be help us to create or authenticate, so you don't need to do again and again. You can see that we got the real password. Yeah, it's really simple. So you can say that. So for the so here we can just place it here and we need to import. Yeah, we got all these things and import plus stability, and then we need to algorithm that it will should be authority. We got uh, we are good to go. I think yes. And then we need to validate, and there is a validate function here. It will be a verifier, and the validate function allows you to perform validations like whatever the JWT payload is it correct or not. You can check all those things. So I'll just need to in that JWT here, like a verifier, we can have this one that if I getting username as string, whether you need to set it correctly for, so every route will automatically get that payload correctly on place. So you need to check all those things here. Uh, the challenge function allows you to configure a response to be sent if authentication fails. So on other, so like if it fails, what you need to do, go with this, like it will execute like this way. We'll just have that token is not valid or has expired, right? So here I think we need to have some message things, like, so call dot respond, yeah, got it, right? The response need to be, I think, something similar, but it's saying the type info you need, so we can just have respond text, sorry, in respond, so we can have the type information as string, so not text but some type of string. So it will gonna work, I think. We just move that. Okay, we need to just make sure. Yeah, you can see. So we have now uh like a JWT authentication in place, right? We just first uh, like input all those environment variable things, like getting all those values first, and then we are just saying that we need to authenticate with this and JWT and what type of JWT. You just name a like a function, so you can have different type of JWT functions on that if you need that much changes. So like you set the realm and the verifier, it will verify all those things, and if it is validated, right, whatever the credential is. So here you what you can say, go with like whatever the payload you have, like the username and whether it's exist or not. So you can just do checks here like in your database or something else like that way, and you can just put that in the payload that yeah, it will be a principal here. So it will like for every route you are gonna get that JWT principal, you will automatically get all those payloads with the credential whatever you have set it. And if there is a fellow here, you can just go with this one, right? So yeah, and I think we need to go with another way like how to do so for this to go on. So we have some routing. So let's go with routing, and we'll make sure that named as authenticate. Like you can say that auth route. That would be good. Auth routing dot, sorry, not dot but kt, right? So you can say that function routing. I think routing, yeah, routing dot auth routes, like we can define this way, like how we have done with hello. Uh, sorry, you can see that routing like this way. So for that one, like all those routing in place, so we can just have this one. So we need some like post. So what we need to post, like what is the method type, and then we can say that yeah, we need a login. And before that one, like we'll go with that. Just I'll create models here, but we'll eventually move into the data package itself. So I'll say that login request. Sorry, not like class. It will be data class. That will be more good. Data class login request, right? And we need here a username for now on, and it will be a string type. And like we can have that validation also, like for the properties, like in Spring Boot if you have used. But we'll do it later. For time being, let us do it as a string. And no issues. Yeah, we got the request, but to use with the route, right? We need serialization on. We just mark it as serializable with annotation serializable, right? And we need to import. It's saying illegal, but I know that. So we'll go with application.kt here. If I remember, where it is serializable. Make sure that we are inputting it correct. Where is serializable? We should not have any issue on this. Cannot access type ls serializable. It is internal in file. I don't know like why it's coming up again and again. Let's check with the build. So one thing we can do, go with the clean project first, right? You can just say that yeah, clean project, and then we'll just rebuild it. It will PG Kotlin X. So you can just import manually. Just start serialization dot right, serialization. Yeah, it should gonna work. I think this serializable is exposed for other plugins also. That's why it's completing with, and it's making like the ID is complaining about that. Yeah, it is internal there. So yeah, so like here we just mark it out that we need a like login route, which will be a post method itself, right? And here we can make sure that val user equal to all that receive. So we'll get a login request, right? More like before that one also you can validate it, like that's also possible with cater. Like before receiving, you if you want to validate it, you don't have to write it here. Rather you can have a global level validator which will automatically validate all those things for you. Like all those things we will not do now, but we'll eventually do all those things in place also. So it will be good for like a um, big project, right? So we'll go with the auth routing first. So we got the login request, right? So we can have that validations like before that one. So we can just return it back that return post, right? We can just return. We can just have call that respond, and we'll make sure that text whatever we have sent, right? You can just have respond whatever we send the user, right? And before that one, we can just make sure that we are sending the user here, and what it's saying that no value passed for type info, right? You just need to import, I think. Yeah, could not find load my application kt and application will do issues. Well, yeah, we can see that if I can go with user ATT, and the login here in browser or always be get method, right? So it's giving us Pojo for because it's not finding there. So to go with so we'll have some validation in place also. So let's do that. So we have that login request, right? And so what we'll do, like we'll go with the data, and here we'll create a repository, right? repository folder, you can say in here it will be called package. So like it will the same. So in repository, what we'll do, we'll create just give me 1 second. In repository, we need to create a class here. So we'll go with that auth repository, which will handle all those cases for us. Repository, auth repository. So yeah, you can say that it will be auth repository, which will do one, two, three things. Like you can see that yeah, it will give us back that result, right? I'll go with the result always. That will be good for the UI part also. Like if you want to implement, yeah. This is the first function I want to implement, and you can have that interface class and everything. But I'll go with bare class now. Function and register. Yeah, we'll go with this one. So for the username and password, what we need, and what type of return we need, right? Um, and then we'll just close it and make sure that we have all this services. So we'll have a empty body for now. So on login, what we need, that two things. If 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 the login request is success, right, we need to have a return with token, right? Whatever the user wants, the token, and only token will be necessary. And maybe if you want refresh token also, you can embed that one. But on register, we need to have like MSS gone back, right? So you need to create some classes for that result for this login successful or not. So you can say that go with this one data, and we have some new package called models. You can have that, right? Or we can just name and we'll have some uh, login response, right? So we can mark it sealed. So we'll have like a limitation that this class can be only type up to or not, so like that. So you can say that it will be a sealed class login response, which will give us back the class yeah, class login success, right? And we'll have sorry for my voice. So here we need make sure attach data class. I think it will be possible, yeah. And it will be have a token which will of type string for now, I mean, right? And there will be, and we can just like extend the same login response class. No issues. So why it is messing up the type? So it must be initialized here. So yeah, you can just have this one. I think it can be placed here also, like login response dot login success, if I remember correctly. I think we should have shield class in Kotlin, right? In that we need to be out class. In that, if I remember the shield class to be in the same file rather than different files, if you have to extend the class, the parent class here, right? You are just replace a restricted class hierarchy where a value can only have one limited set of types. So it can be only the login response can be a login success or a login error, right? So you can say that yeah, login class, login error. We can also have different types of login error, but for now, like I will go with the generic one, which will be our error here with the string, and it will have the same login response thing, right? So just I will go with the documentation. Be sure that what we are doing is correct, right? We have shield interface. To declare shield class interface uses shield modifier, right? We can have this one, so this type, right? So yeah, that will be good also. Like rather than class, we can just have interface because we don't want an concrete implementation of login response here. So that would be good also. So here also we just remove this one. So these are subclasses of your login response, but the limitation here is that it is the login response is restricted to only two subset of classes, right? That login success and login error. So yeah, we are going right. Yeah. So these two things we need, right? So you can say that here, um, like whenever you have this login response, right, in repository, we'll make sure that the result type will always be login response, right? So you can just like put all those things here in place. So for register also the same way. So you can say that go with register response, and we'll eventually move out all those things into a shared folder. So like shared package, you can say. So you can share all those classes like in a server, in our client apps like compose, like, or in iOS app also. So register response, we can have the same way like how we did with login response, right? We'll have shield interface, right? If you're getting a register so it can be like, yeah, we are getting it right. So like if the register is success, we can have just a message rather than a token, because we don't want to just pass down that the user whatever it provided, right? We'll need to figure it out like how this authentication will valid. So yeah, and here also we just need to mark out that, yeah, we'll create that register response, right? So this much. And before going with the database thing, let's just offer the best. So I'll check with my existing project like how I call all those database things also underlying from repository to that one. So I think you need to have a constructor injection here. So give me 1 second. Yeah, I think what we need on login process, right? We need to get check whether both username and password is available. We'll not go with the encryption or password for till now. Let me check like if it can be done it. If you can do it fast, we can do it fast. Then we'll continue with it. Else we'll skip for now. So that if success, right? If we are getting success, that success of existence, uh, username and password exist. So then we'll create uh, access token and refresh token. That will be simple. Let me check stream moment. Mm, if watching it later, just give a subscribe or like. That will be help for me to grow up this channel, right? So I'll make sure that we got good content here. So I'll make sure that. So this one you need to check on. Before that one, I'll go. Right. So okay. will return a successful, right, login response. So before that one, that we need to check out the database thing and everything. So I'll make sure that all things are in place. So we'll go with the database things, right? We have set it up all those things now, and we'll go with the past, like in if you're using exposed, right? Just we'll make sure that exposed is installed here. So I'll need to make sure that exposed is there. You can see that exposed core and database both are available. So we'll go with the table uh, table package. We'll create it. Yeah, table is not there. So you can say that this one will be table, right? So where we'll place our table. So for the we'll go with the file. For now, the name will be user table. We'll go with right. So for the user table, what we need to define, right? So we'll make sure that like in if I go with the exposed documentation job, right? I think if it is there, that will be good. So I can just check, make sure that exposed is there. Exposed, is there any database thing mentioned here? No, not in Kata, but you can say go with Kata, not Kata, just export first plain. And it's a very good ORM for Kotlin side, right? You can have all those tables defined like in code inside. It's using DSL, right? And it is very easy also. So all those query and everything will be simpler rather than depending upon the raw queries, SQL query. I know that also ORMs will be slow down, right? But we'll try to optimize. We'll try to optimize this later. Rather, we'll develop it now. So we'll make sure that tables being created correctly and everything is seamless. So before that one, just we'll make sure that user table being created. So that will make sure that we just have object user table. We need to have the class name here, like whatever the object, because it should be created only once. So that's why I'm attached object rather than a class itself, right? So you can say that it will gonna be UUID table. So like all those keys, the primary key will be defined like with the UUID. And I'll make sure that name I think, yeah, the table name, right, we want, if I remember correctly, it will be called user table itself, right? And the column name, right, which will be a primary key here, will be user ID. And make sure that we'll define all those like columns also, like here if you are marking as, you can see that the name is the table name here, and the column name we have mentioned in the second thing, right? Which will be a primary key by default. ID is used if I'm not specifying, but we'll make sure that this will be a user ID for timing. So we'll go with the so any user will have a username, yeah, right? Then it will be of type Varchar for now, and it will be the row name will be username. Sorry, the column name will be username, and it will have a default length of 255. I don't want more for now. So yeah, we'll go with the email. So everyone should have an email, right? And we'll need just password, and password can up to like that. For time being, let's go with 255, the default one. But it should be like you should make sure that those password things are like the length should be maybe 8 character to 16 characters. So you can save some storage, but it will be good also to go with more length of this password to be stored in the database. So yeah, getting all things right, I think now we have the user table. So right, and one more thing maybe we need that. So some data class we need that it will represent the table as in a class. So like we can use it to like when we want like convert the row to a transferable class or object there, right? So you need to have that things in place also. So we can say just make sure that you have these things placed right inside the user table. So we can just have a DTO, like data transfer object, which will give us row to convert row converted to our defined class. So it will be easier to go on. So yeah, we have the table now in place. So but we'll go with that. We'll create an DAO, like data access objects. So like table, we'll need another package called DAO, and we'll go with the like this one, and we'll make sure that it will be I user DAO. So what are the functions you need? Like we'll make sure that go with this one, right? In interface, what we'll mention that those things mostly we need. So like uh, we have to have a function which will give us a user, like whatever we have from there, like from the routing layer to a repository layer, right? From that one we will need all those things in place, so we can just work on directly. So what we need, a user, get user, which will give us back with whatever the request we need to fetch on, right? And we will make sure that this will be a user request, but we already have, right? Rather than user request, I think it will be a login request. Make sure we need to make sure that for routing, you can see that these things I should be placed on here. So I'll make sure that login request, and it will file. Let me import it back. So yeah, I mentioned that this login request also have properly placed here in models, right? So we can say that this will be a login request that we need to fetch it on, and it will give us back a user or null, right? So to implement all this user DAO, like I'll create. So I'll make sure that another package is called user. Yeah. So it will be easy to figure it out, like rather than getting too much like interface classes in just one package. So I'll just refactor it. Yep, right. DAO.user. So what and we'll create another class which will be an implementation class of it. So we'll make sure that is it's called user DAO. So it will be a class, right? Class user DAO. So which will be extending a user DAO. So uh, so we need to implement that, like how we want to access it. So we'll need to import also, like implement all those members. We need everything in place. Yeah. So this user DAO is now correct, right? So before doing anything here, so I think we need to do one thing, like how do you want to convert any row to a user class, right? We need that user class we have defined here in user table, right? Like for user table, like it is we'll go the get the row, and we need to convert it to somehow into the user class. So that thing we need to do in the DAO, data access object class. So for that one, what we'll make sure that it will be a private function which will be converting our result row, which we'll get from like when we go with the any query in exposed, we'll get that one, and we'll make sure that this will be an extended function, so extension function. So you will get that one. So you just need to mark it out that we need like a function named to user on result row class itself, and what it will do, like so we need that username, right? So what we need to place it here, that this, right, means the raw, whatever the raw, and these things all in place. So we need to import the I think it's not, so let's bring it up, right? And one more thing I think I have left, that the, like when you represent any table into a raw, sometimes you need ID, and every user should have an ID, else it will not be a user, right? So I'll make sure that everything here it is placed as string, right? So if it is string here, so we need to make sure that also this row being filled, right? So I'll make sure that ID will be what, so this dot user table, so dot id here dot value, if I remember, and we'll make sure that the value will get you the UUID, if I remember correctly, the type of T, like the user table ID here, it is mentioned as entity ID of UUID type, right? So you'll get, but you need to convert to a string, this much. I think then we'll need a comma. Yeah, we have a a good function which will convert our raw to user directly. So just we need to like implement this one now. So here we can have this here in the interface class itself, but I'll make sure that this will be in user DAO class here, right? We need, because it's a private function, we should call it here. For get users, like for any user, if you want to get it right from the table, what you need to write in expose, that you have what from which table you want. The first thing you need to write user table, from where we'll want to like some filters, right? So we can make sure that yeah, this type of things we can do. So we'll make sure that we are writing here, right, that whatever the user table email, right, so it should be matched with our login request. So user dot the username, right? It should be an email, and we can say that not you should use expression. It's called eq, like for equality, and user dot. It should be a username, right? Whatever the login request we need, and then we should also check one more thing here, right? And like the raw SQL, we need to check the same way, and we can say that user table that password also matches it, and we just map it to user. So we'll make sure that eq and all those things in place or not. So it to user, map to user, and single or null. Yeah, this much thing we need, I think. So user table dot select, user table dot email, and everything in place. So but it's complete argument measure step actual, it's a big integer but got list of expense as exponent result reference eq. I think we need to import that eq thing also. Yeah, so you can see import. Yeah, we have it successfully imported eq. So we can just mark it star, so it will import correctly the and also and expression. So I don't think so an issue now, but let us check that we have failed. Select is it will be this one. Yeah, you can see now. So we'll just need to return it. So what we are saying here, that like when you have a login request here, and from table you get whatever the login request username, it should match with our email and the password in the table from the request, and we are mapping like whatever we are getting like we will map here. But to optimize this also, like we may get a list which should not happen, but here we can also map this one. So this way we are making sure that we only get only one row, right? And then we are mapping it up. Yeah, so like this way you can do, but because we are sure that it will be only one user, because by the like at the time of registration we'll check that username and email things also. So this much you have we have done. Now we need properly now do one more thing. So we need some dependency injection now. So for dependency injections, we have already mentioned that we'll initialize the database first, right? And then what we need that also, like what type. So always make sure that you have interface type here declared. So like any implementation, you can just swap it on later. So that way, and we can say that it will be user DAO, and it will be once being created. We don't need another object again and again. So like that way we can get all those user. So we'll try to use another route, or sorry, another function here, which will give us the all the users also. So what we'll get all users, and it will give us back the list of users, right? So in user DAO, we'll need to implement all those things. We'll go with the implement members. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are doing it right over here. Yeah, I think we're doing it right. No issue. So what we can say for get all users, like how do you in raw SQL, we'll just go with first the table, yeah, we need here that select all here, right? And what we need to map. What we need to map that each whatever we are getting in the map, right? Whatever the value, just to user, and it will we just return it back here. So like rather than return, like we can have that equal. Like if we are using equals also, it will gonna work with the Kotlin. So you can just make sure this way, like the code is looking good and readable also. So yeah. So and that one is the part of the database now, and we need to implement in like the repository layer how we will handle all those things, right? So we have mentioned everything here. I think we need to one more thing we need to put on in the application itself, if I remember correctly. In it, right, we have that create tables. So here we need to make sure that schema utils. So whenever there is a create I think schema here, right, the user table. So what I'm mentioning here that uh, like when there is a sorry, create tables and columns. So yeah, create machine relatables. So it logs unity's depreciation execution of this function might lead to unpredicted state in data. So if a locus attainment to prevent this is migration utilized statement required for data mesh migration with the third party migration tool. Flyway migration tools is accessible with the dependency exposed migration JDBC. So I don't think so. We should table create machine table and columns. Let me go with this one first, but we'll check with the exposed. So working database, right? Like how do we, yeah, schemas working with tables. You have tables and ID tables, which by definition like will have the primary key of type ID. So not like this way. I think yeah, this way. You just define this thing. So we need to inherit table. We have already, I think. Like if I'm doing it correctly, yeah, you ID table also the same. So we have here. It will automatically go with this one. Tables we have defined. Like check creating tables. Schema it will start create. Only this much. So make sure I think not there is any function that creatable. Nothing like that one I'm getting here. Okay, inside the transaction. I need to check that one. So it should be like this way. Yeah. And this can identify type parameter. Okay. We are here need user table. Right. User table. So yeah. Create. I think if it's create there. So we need to have create or uh, uh, create machine tables and columns. If it is already there, it should not be recreated. So I don't know, like previously it's working fine, but this time it's saying that it is being depreciated with this one function that there is a migration thing. I think we need to import it. It's imported correctly. Still it's showing that one. Let's ignore this one for now. We'll make sure that these things, everything, this type of things. So we need to just make sure that create table is being called after successful. Yeah, right. Sorry, before successful. So yeah, it's already there, right? Whenever we have initialized, it will connect and create those tables in place, and will give the message that in console that successful connected that database, and we'll just return the database object once, right? Yeah. So one thing, we have the dependencies in place also. So we go with now, like how do you want to access all those things, right? In routing itself, if I go with the routing or routing, right? In login, we are going with this way. So in coin, if I remember correctly, like we can have like in this job, right? Because we need those DAO also in place. So we can just say that we need a user DAO here, right? Like the data access object for, and by inject, right? In like when you are using coin, like by inject, right? And what is the type you want, like all those depends. I use a DAO, and it will have a function. So we are saying that we need a user DAO type for which you have installed here, right? Which I have created only once. That a single only once it will be being created, and we need to access it on our route, right? The route is defined here itself in the auth routing, so you can just reuse it later. So this way the coin in dependency injection works. So it is simple also, and then we can proceed with whatever the function that we want on, right? So those auth routes we need to configure here. So just 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 for make sure that we can just mention here auth routes, and we can just call it input, and you can see that auth routes being injected in the routing here, right? In the application module, I mentioned it here. And with auth routing, you have that login things, right? So if I go with login now, and it will it's showing that there is, yeah, we have not like how do we go with the login and everything, we have not giving its body, right? That's why it's complaining, because we need to return something. So what we'll do with here, that in auth repository we need that like used our route, right? You can just make sure that this is being in constructor itself. So what we'll do, we'll go with this one, and we'll make sure that not final but val, it will be used out, not val, because it's a class, it's not a data class. So we'll go with the user DAO here, right? We can go with user DAO, right? This way we are getting in a place like how we should go with. So I'll make sure that the interface class is injected here. So also here, right, in application.kt, right, we have the user DAO now here. So we'll make sure that we need only once the auth, what it's called, auth repository, and what it wants, that auth repository dot get. So if you mention it get, so it will automatically get that whatever the injected type, if it's being like placed before it, right? If it's not, it will fail. So that way we can have, and we need to go with that login thing, right? So we'll go with the login things, right? So what we'll need, first we'll check whether the so not final is user available here, available. So to check it like in a good way, like you have that user DAO, right? Of what we have here. It's saying that auth.tao. Go with this one. Why it's saying that unresolved reference user DAO. Why? Yeah, it's a property here. I think we need this one. Yeah, we need to mark it as well. I think, yeah, it's correct now. So because this function is a suspend function, so we need to mark it all those functions which being called will be suspend also. That would be a good way to go on. So we'll make sure that the username and password is being passed on correctly. The get user is needed with the login request. So we'll make sure that this one, right? Also go with the login request. So that will be good to go on. So we'll make sure that this variable name is login request, like this way. We just need to pass on. So so we are creating abstractions, like it should not be, because some logic we need to define in the repository, and the AO or that access object is only used for interacting with the tables, right? in the long term it will create a good effect on like when you maintain a big project, right? So we are making sure that if is user available, then what we want to do, and if it's not, what we want to do. If is user available, right? So there is a when expression we also can use. So if I go with if, right? So for timing, let me check user, it will give us back. So if user is able not equal to null, not equal to null, what you want to do in simple terms, like this way, like you have some if else conditions, we can just convert it out to when expression, if I remember correctly, replace if with when, right? When you don't have, and else you have, like this way, right? So else we can just so one more thing we can just do a magic, you can say. So else what you need to do, so you'll always, because return these things, right? You can just write it return when, and when you return type mismatch, right? Because we are giving it a function, so we'll just remove it, and we'll make sure that some functions being executed here, right? And if there is an error, that will get with the login error, and we'll make sure that um, message is here, the error mentioned will be user not found. Yeah, that will be good. And what it's saying, the return type message is actually in, because here you can see that the subclass we are returning, but here we are not, we are just having functions. So we'll make sure some logic here, if the user is there, like how to create a token here and everything, right? All those things will just for timing, let us return just an empty this thing, right? So if user is not available, we'll just give it the result dot success. So we'll return the login success here, like the same class. So and in login success, you can see that we need to return a token. So we'll just go with the trace token first, rather than this one. Oh, this will be also good, like, if you want. So we don't need those casting uh, because we are returning it correctly. If I, so what it's saying, that return type mismatch express login response. Yeah, the field interface and login success, and this one, and it will be result type, correct? And something we miss, I think. Yeah, is it? No. uh, oh, got it. What we are missing up. So you need result dot error, right? Or failure, I think. So if there is a any failure thing, right, we can have that exception, like throwable exception here. So only one problem here is that that result class, that you need to, this function need to be throwable. So we need to make sure that this result class, right, somehow defined correctly. Make sure that the result class, we need some shield class type, which will be in long term will be good also for us, because it's here you can see that exception, that's why. But we'll make sure create a class for this one. So let us create a class from utils still mention, not this way, but create a package here, sure that utils is being created, and we'll say that data result, we can say in file, we'll make sure that this mention data result, which is similar to result, but we can give a concrete class rather than a throwable class. Yep. So let me mm, so we can just try it, I think. Still class data result. Yeah, this much. And then there will be a class called success. So data result of type, right? The type variance we need. Create a data result class that would be better. Right? So in Gemini, we'll ask to create a data result class. Create, sorry, create a data result class with type E, sorry, success and S comma E. So and S stand for success and E stand for error. So you can see that's how easy it is, right? And just make sure the data result here we are saying that both this classes. Just give me 1 second. Let me import that serializable thing. Right. So how do I'm like mentioning here that the sealed class data result can be returned with a success or a error, right? And it cannot be both, but only single. So we are mentioning that inside this one, the data result success, that it will always give us back the fast inference here as mentioned, the S class, which will take S class means it's the type of S it will give us back, and it will of type S, and the second one will be nothing. Like if there is a success, there should not be an error. So both should not be returned at any cost. But if it is error, you can see that the success is nothing and the error is being returned with E type. So this much. So we need to make sure that all those things now in place. So go with this one. So make sure. And one thing I think I have mentioned, I should do DB query if I done that correct. I think in doubt. So before going to that thing, just make sure uh, mentioned here in data class repository, right? What we'll do, we'll make sure that this is a data result class, right? And it's saying that it should have type uh, like what is the exception type and what is the result type. So you can see that we did define both. I think it will be a login response class, or it should have like, so we'll make sure uh, because it's a sealed class like the error class, and so we don't need, I think we don't need S and E. One type would be good. So like more of a result class, but somewhat simpler. So you can see that we need this one and this one. We need to copy it out, go with that result, and we'll make sure that this thing and right. So you just need to mention the T and S, whatever we can just return it. So you can see that login response it is here. So rather than this, we can just write that result of this, that result of this. So we can write the success directly. We don't need class full class. I think that result dot success, that result dot error. This way, and here it is mentioned that error should be a message, but we'll make sure that error should also have type right. It will should be an E, which whatever we have defined result, that is nothing, and it will be val error of type the same, the E, and it will give you a back with error, right? I think this will simplify more. Yeah, you can see either it will be error or a success class. So I think also we need to figure it out, like how to do simplify this. So before doing that one, I need to make sure that error can be any class. So you can see that it can do out all those both, because we need to define the T and E. So that's is my problem. So let's make this right. Data. Let's check. So it will be give us a login response or a login error. This right. I think this much is good. So I am mentioning both. Very far. It is good to go. I think. And when we do register, right? We need an username, password, and what is the table that we have defined. So in user table, you can see username, email, and password, right? So we make sure that everything is passed on correctly. So rather than a login request, we can say that sign up request also being made. So we'll create a sign up request. Like a register response, we should have a sign up request. Sign up request. So what we will do, we'll just have a data class, right? Sign up request, and it will have all those necessary things. We'll just mark or serializable. We'll do it later. So we can say that we need, I think, username. So you can say that email, which will be a string, right? And will be a password, which will also a string, right? I don't think so. Anything else we want? Username, email, password. So either we need username or email, not both. But in register time, we can have login like that way. So I'll just remove this way. That I don't think so. Any problem for now. So we need with email and password we will save, and that will be good to go. So we'll make sure that register request or the sign up request is email and password, right? So we'll make sure that here we placed it correctly, that we need this way, and this should work. And make sure that sign up request is like this way. And in user DAO, like we need to make sure that we have that thing in place also. Suspend function, create user, and it will be user type user, right? If it is failed, it will give us null. If it is not failed, it will give a real user. So that way we have a good way to go on. So in implementation, we need to create it, right? So and in the mapping, username is not needed now. Only email password will be more than enough. And what it's asking for, no values passed for parameter username. And because we don't need that in here also, so we'll remove it for now. We'll make sure that those changes also reflects correctly everywhere. So create user, right? So you can say that user DAO is here. So for create user, what we need to go with the DAO itself, that we need to make sure one more thing, if I remember correctly, all those things right in place. So it should be in like this way, because we need to make sure that it's only executes once, and it should be in a suspend function of db query, which will be a transaction itself. If it fails, it everything will be failed. So we can see that we can just write it like this way. Why we're writing? So it will be like you can see the database factor will be a object class itself, and we are saying that in this db query, whatever the function we want to execute inside here, it will be a suspended transaction which can be resumed later within the IO, and we are just executing whatever the block we have here. So we are saying that this one. So context as a parameter, we will do it later now. So we'll make sure that implemented correctly everywhere the user DAO, right? The database.db query. These things we need to place it here also. So you can make sure that this curly braces here implemented and here, right? I think we are good to go now. So here also we need like equal to database factory dot db query, like whatever the query you want, you can just have all those things in place. So here we don't need a user to be like user to be sent, rather what we have mentioned here. Yeah, I think yeah. We need a sign up request. Make sure all those things are like annotated with serializable, which we should not miss at any cost. So we'll just make sure that yeah, it's annotated correctly. Else, like the serialization will fail at any moment. So we don't want all those things, right? So get all the users, it's returning it back correctly. I think no issues here. And for create user, we need sign up request. Sorry, it will be class sign up request. We'll write sign up request here also. So like when you do an insertion, right? We need to make sure that uh, we are in database factory.db query, and here what you need like we'll have an insert statement here, right? Like in raw query, like when you write SQL query the same way, and the return type will match it, no issues, and it will make sure that yeah, sign up, yeah, all this email and password is properly inserted here, like in the insert statement here. And what you need that insert statement dot create like something this way, right? Why the insert is not working? Expert list of user actual unit. Why we need a like, I think list of user we don't need at any cost. Just give me 1 second. I think yeah, I got the issue. Not yeah. So we'll make sure first thing first. I think we have written it correctly, no issues. Mm, Something is broken here, I think. Make sure. Yeah, it's now correct. I think. So I need to write it here. I think the class is not closed. I think. Yeah, we are writing it outside where we should do with within that private. It's equal. It's equal. Equal. It's writing here. Are you doing something wrong? It's like writing this way the same, right? Data.factory. Data was factory.db query. I think this should be pressed here. I got that. Yeah, I think I got getting it right. So I need this one. Database factory dot db query here, and we'll go with the insert statement, user table insert, and we can just make sure that insert are correct, right? And like I have placed it correctly. It's mentioning that yeah, return type we need a user here, so you'll go with the insert statement dot create. I think it. resulted values. So we are mentioning that it be resulted values single dot. So we need to import all those things also, like user table dot those properties of tables, right? And here, so we need to import insert. Yeah, you can see that we are making sure that the insert statement is that we are inserting the user table with the instance of this user table here, and we are mentioning that these properties are filled with this data, and we get that statement, and we are saying that if the resulted value will be will be, if there is any result value, convert it to a user. If it is not, just give us back null. So this way we can create an user, right? So we have all those functions in place. So we'll test it out without authentication first, then we'll implement the authentication itself. So going with that, we have some routing, right? Mentioned auth routing. So but we have a login. So the next thing I'll go with that get class users. That will be good. I think no issues. We'll just import it. Import this will be routing.get, and we'll make sure that when you write that we don't need to interact with the DAO directly because we are now using a repository here. So we'll make sure that this repository being like only used once, and it should handle our logic there, right? So what we need, just val user repository, right? By inject, we are saying that if it's available, it should only do once. User repository, I think. Just give me- previously we have to inject, yeah, user repository, auth repository, not user, right? And we make sure that okay, not qualifier, and so we'll make sure that this will be auth repo. So what it's saying that um, auth repo, the qualified parameters, I will need now all those things. Okay, I think import, we need to import just this one. Yeah, it's good to go now. Auth repo, right? So what we need, so we can just say that call dot respond, and we can say that we need from the user repo here, right? Sorry, auth repo dot get all users. For time being, I have not implemented that function, but we are gonna implement that function also. So it's just a, so we can say in that user auth repository here itself function. So we are saying it will get all users, right? Which will give us back all those things in place. And this call we just don't want. Yeah, just we need to mark suspend because underlining functions are suspend function itself. So yeah, I think this should go with will go. So before that, and so one more thing we need. So like we have a user, like when you have both username and password, right? Sometimes you need to just check whether the email is available or only. So like we can just create another function here, suspend function get user with email. So we can say that yeah, email string and use this much. So you don't need to find with id now for timing, but we'll do it later. We'll make sure that yeah, these things are in place. So we'll make sure that I use it now. So you need to implement it here. We are saying that if the user have that email, you should not recreate it, right? Anyway, so it will, because it will throw beforehand. So we'll just make sure that it's not going there at the time of creation, right? So I, what we need here, that yeah, it's good to go. So it's saying that actual type is function of Boolean, that we need something like this. Just give me one second. User table dot email. I think, are we inputting correctly? Uh, equality, yeah, email, same. Can we just make sure that it should be user email? It's saying that argument type mismatch actual. Hi, the argument type. We can just return, rather than return, we can just write equal to. That will be also fine. So it's saying that so user table email should be equal to, right. We can just also write this one also. That's not a problem. The argument type mismatch. The argument type mismatch. Are we writing something wrong here? So user table, the select keyword, and whatever the filter type you want. This here. Okay, I got what missing here. We need that as an expression. Not this way. We'll make sure. So yeah, got it. Now I think. Not this way also. We are getting some errors like this way. Hmm. What we have missed here? Singular null, fast or null. Is it fast or null? So we are saying that we need to select, right. So rather than a function, I think it's done this way it should have. Yeah. So I think those changes in place, like in exposed is now, is that we can access everything, but with a functional signature like a parenthesis rather than a curly braces here. Because previously it is a curly braces that we want to use, like it should be used, but now it's changed. So yeah. So in like here in register, what you need to check. So final is email. File is email available, right? So what you need that from user DAO. So we'll say that any user with that same email available or not. Right? But sign up requested email. Yeah, that much. But it's need. Okay, so you just need to mark it out. Suspend. So yeah. So we are saying that is email if the image email is available, right? We'll make sure. So we'll just return that yeah, email already exists. Else, if there is no email present, what we'll need final. So not final, it will be val. So you can make sure that is a expression. I think yeah. So val user, right? What you need, just create a user with that sign up request. If user is not null, just return this one. Else this one. So I think this will be a data result rather than the result here, right? Data result, because we have defined everywhere. So we need to make sure that we are getting it correct. Not here, but in auth repository. We are saying that so either it will be this way or register response is there. Yeah. So either it will register success or register error. It can be other way. So this way we have mentioned everything. So next thing, what we'll need to check that this will be data result rather than anything else, right? So data result will be error in condition here, right? And we don't need this one. We can just say that it will be register error, and with the error this one. And what it's saying that I think I missed a call services here. That's why it not able to detect result at success. So rather than that, we can say that This will be data result, and this will be a success that we have created a token here. And here we mention that data result dot error. And rather than exception here, we are saying that this will be a register error, right? So if user not equal to null, not login success, register success. You can see now register function is completed, as well as this one. Just we need to check everything is placed on. So we have some extra. We need to format it correctly. Just format the file. So in register success, what it needs is a need a message. So we'll just make sure that this is a message that user is created. So in the auth routing live, you can see that um, all those things in place, right? The users and everything. So we'll also make sure post register also here, right? So call letter receipt dot, this will be sign up request here, sign up request. And what you need, we'll just make sure that it will be responded with this one, auth repo dot register with the user request. So you can set this one. So you should name it correctly, sign up request, and we need to just pass it on, right? These three things we need, and we'll make sure that everything is serializable, that marked on. These are not marked, you can see. So we'll make sure these are marked, right? Make sure all those things placed on. So yeah, all things serializable now. I think here also you need the same, right? And enter all those things in place. Now we'll just run it to check everything is working. You can see working fine, and we'll go with Swagger UI. Check. Yeah, you can see that all those rights now are dynamically generated, right? You can see that all those requests also with objects. What are the like anyone up like I'll really now the Swagger is also make sure that whatever the return type, like whatever the shield class you have defined, every possible return type is mentioned here. So it will be great also for the user to know that these things measure from right in register. You can see that one of something, right? So one of it will be data result dot error or data result dot success, like this way. That is good. So mm, so first we'll check with the users that everything is simple on. So you can see that we don't have any user now. But for register, we'll make sure that we'll try it out. Email and password, right? We're getting something like this where the type and this register success that user is created. We'll make sure that this documentation is also simple, right? Returning a data result, we can have a shield class that should be returned only. That way, we have a good way to go on, right? So we'll make sure that users also works now. So serializer for user is not found. So we need to mark it down. Right? In the table, we have defined that one. So we make sure that we have serializable here also in place. We just need to restart. As we have used S2, so it should be persist here because we are getting success, or sorry, we are getting success here when you create it with a like the email ID string, password string. Those validations we have not put it on till it. So you can see that now we are getting email, password correct, right? So to make sure that this type information and everything works correctly, I'll check that data implementation here for inference enabled. So I need to check on like is it supported natively in Swagger that it will correctly get that type also. So um, not here. like how the specification being generated now. We need to check once. So enabled. So in annotation we can do that one. Check thing also. Like how those annotation works then. Comment based annotation. Mm-hmm. So you can just define everything here like in a comment and it will gonna work. That also I think some good. Okay. We can have this one also like runtime route annotation. So here we have the logic here, right? And we can just describe dot describe like this way, like what is the responses are, right? Also you can hide, yeah. I think. Now the like Swagger or the OpenAPI integration with Kotlin is great, but when I have used 2 3 years back, like there is another plugin that you need to from GitHub, like GitHub Swagger integration. If I Swagger something K named in at initial as it initial that plugin something K uh, GitHub not smiley for it. Yeah, this one is being used like in old way. That is also good. So you can just describe like this way. Now it is integrated within like the similar thing is integrated into the GitHub, which will be good also. So if you're doing it uh code inference, so respond.t call dot receipt of type T. So so it's getting from here like type T, but it doesn't know the type T holds another generic, right? So that's why we are getting here. Like, can you check this in the Swagger UI here itself? If I go right in register, and the request is because it's type T, it's like holding a generic class T. There is no nested like classes it's holding, so that's why it recognize the correct order like the parent class here. But when we going here, when you go with this one, you can see that it's going with the data result class rather than anything else. So we need to make sure that also like we are getting it right. So what we can do if I go with the route here, because we need to make it simplify with the documentation also. So how do I returning it back that get all users gives us the list of users is correct, but when you do the sign up thing, right? But in register it will be written a data result. So we need to make sure that we are responding correctly. So what we'll do, so final, not final, but val sign up result. So we'll just make sure that we write all those things correctly. So we can just have a when, right? Return. We can just write the return here. What we need, want to return when. So like we are checking the sign up result when dot sign up request. So we are saying that when you have like yeah, return at the post when the branches here, right? Whatever the type, whether it's error or success, according to that, just need to sign up result dot success. So yeah, it's a data result as error. So you can just make sure that this is error or is success, right? Not type. You need to define. It can be either HWC, EWS. Yeah. Input class success. So in data class, data result dot success or data result dot error, right? So if if it is error, you just need to sign up result dot error, right? And here we need sign up result dot success, right? So we are getting this for these values also return type, expected unit and actual is so we don't need to return it here. So rather we just return here. We can just write final, so not final val result, like rather than that one also, like if you want to return it back here, right, we can just call dot call dot respond, right? You can just have the sign up result, not the sign up result dot error. So we got that correctly. And here, so the type is, I think it should work now, because we're defining only the type T, not the type T containing another type T. So that way it should work. So if it's working correctly, that error, okay, we need a success. We can say uh, just that success or error. That will be good too. So in routing, you need to check now. You can see. So we'll need to just stop, restart, and just refresh for time. So one of we are getting register error or register success, right? So if we recreate it here, also we'll got that user ID is not in record set, right? So like we need to check where it failed, right? So we are saying that that user ID is not available here. Are we getting it correctly? So we are saying that whether the email already have available there. So just make sure that users also have the same way. So you can see that we are getting all the users string string string. So in make sure that register, if we are doing the same, right, we need to make sure that this fields also work, right? Register, if the email is available here, right, we make sure that this is wrapped like this way. It would be easier to identify the code is readable now, right? It should go with that email already exists. So I'll check this one, user email, right? If I getting that register, not register, yeah, register, but implementation class here, right? Checking that user email, you can just have it try also. Catch any type of exception you get, any time being, and we just return null. So we are saying that whatever the type of exception we are getting, I just returning null. We are not finding it. So refresh and it's saying register success, right? The email and password. If I get the okay, but it should not have recreate those things. Rather than return, we should throw, I think, yeah. If you're not getting get a user with email, I think I have put that logic incorrect. Mm, but if is the email is not available, if is email available, then it should have. So string as email, it should have checked right now. Should not have multiple created. Yeah, you can see we are getting multiple creation of the same type. Why we have mentioned that it will check with the gate user with email whether it's available or not, right? the email is available here. I think is it because the color wishes. We will return this one, else we'll create a new user and return if the user is not created, then user not created. Sure, this time it should work. Okay, what is the issue here? It's saying expecting catch or finally. So don't need that one. Okay, that's good. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, we are getting that user is not set. Don't need to think like why it's happening. So it can happen all, I think. No issues. In your two user function, you are trying to access the user but based on your error message. Based on your error message, it seems that column in your table object might be named user underscore ID. Okay, I think that's correct one. So what we need, I think. Okay, so there is a mismatch in the result row. Yeah, it's correct. I think. So you can see that we mentioned that the primary key here, right? Because it's UI ID table, it should mm, good to go, I think. But we need to make sure. I think we just need to ignore this now. We'll make sure that yeah, it's working. User table dot ID is not in record set. UID, will it be? No, I think name. So we can have that. Let me check now. Either it should be compiled, yeah, compiling correctly. User ID duplicate column name user underscore ID in a table user table. There's duplication here. because UID creates it, but you want to create it. So you can say that the property here, but in exposed here itself. Let's say creating a composite primary key here, but we need not that one. Depending table, right? So there is table, normal tables, and ID tables. Is it the ID we are accessing? Yeah, it's your table type. So there is UUID table. So there is a Kotlin UID and this one, right? Table name, column name of the primary key by default ID is being used. That's okay, also no issues. Constructor detail ID. Maybe we need that ID table of Kotlin type. That will also work. It should be back here also. Like you can just access ID. So I'm saying that it should be ID here, right? Let me check it. We got 1, 2, 3, and this should be an error. User ID is not in record set. To select. So we need to check whether it is there. Then we should, I think, this way. No, like at least we should get. If we are getting a row, then else. It's getting it correct. I think select user table dot email that after string, not type string, rather the value string from user table. User table dot user ID is not in record set. I think but we have made a mistake here that the column name we have mentioned, so it's not finding it. I think we need to drop it once. Like when you create at least now where it is. Let me clear it out so we don't get any issues. So we'll execute. It will have empty because we have dropped the existing, and we'll make sure that this one executed correctly. User created. You can see, and if I go with second time, same issue. You need to tackle it, right? It's not in record set part we are making. Kotlin exposed, not in ID, not in record set. It's an issue, but we need to figure it out like how we can handle export version. So I think table, that user table here, right? UI table, it's auto generated automatically. Yeah. Primary key is ID here, no issues. If I mention column ID, that not would be any issue. Unmentioned here. Okay, it's not saved yet. That's the issue, I think. Not room, it should be exposed. I got it fine. It's failing, but we need to tackle it down. So is it due to that transaction thing? I think make sure that post exposed version also there. Right? Normal export. That is the current export version 120. How old we are? Yeah, it's 120. No issue. Version catalog. We'll make sure. I'll check it. So Gemini is saying that If you will remove this one, will it work? Empty. Uh, User created second time, it should have same issue. This it's creating once, but if you are using like this way, it's saying that it's not in record set, so it's throwing an error. It's if I'm not mapping it, no issues. I any issue we need. Whether your table definition we have correctly, I think. Make sure that let's check out. Yeah. This one we should have in again. It will indexed when you insert. Same issue. Is there an eager or something like lazy relationship? What is the issue? Uh-uh. I think we need this. IDW bar. IDW. What do I getting here? IT table. Damn issue. Email is not in record set. What? Something we are missing, I think. And, So what it does, so a getting select all with fire. Yes. Now it's been created. I think that yeah, yeah, it's now what right? We need like when you use select all with fire rather than select. Yeah, that's good. Use it out. We are getting all, then limit one. Okay, so this much we'll do. Like tomorrow we're gonna do with those authentication thing. Fully implement with at least the admin thing will complete within one day. Okay, thanks.